and also put on the captions if they're not on. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Fall 2022 COIL Faculty and Student Showcase. It's so great to see everyone, and I want to say a very warm welcome to our international partners. And I want to also ask that if you can, please put your name and your location in the chat so that we can get to know everyone. We all have our partners and our students, but we may not necessarily know each other. And it would be great to know where folks are joining from. So today you will hear about presentations from this semester's COIL projects. We have a few synchronous presentations. And then we'll share some videos that folks submitted and projects that folks submitted who couldn't be here today. So I'm going to turn it over to Olga, who's going to lead us through an overview. And then at the end of the program, we will have some time for discussions. And you also are welcome to put anything in the chat at any time. We're really supportive and encouraging community, and the chat is always a great place to show that too. So Olga, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We had a great semester. We had 9 projects with very different countries. So I'm just gonna say a few words about some highlights from this semester in the COIL program at LaGuardia. And I just want to say thank you to our faculty. I know that we are all working so hard to make this happen, right? And also considering the Zoom fatigue and, just kind of dealing with a lot of post-pandemic stress and other changes that are happening in our lives, right? It's just been really, really awe-inspiring to see you kind of go through this project and through your projects and giving them the kind of dedication that they required. And I also want to congratulate our students on finishing and meeting new friends and discovering global learning in the most authentic possible way, right? So as far as our highlights this semester, we had, as I mentioned, 9 different projects, and the faculty that have been involved and have been, making the magic happen are Habiba Boumlik, Lamis Fadel, Ana Maria Fernandes, Tominori Nagano, Maria Sava from ELA. ELA is always ahead of the world as far as COIL is concerned. We always have a lot of faculty members from ELA, which is Education and Language Acquisition Department. It's a huge department, and we're very fortunate to have our colleagues from there participate every semester in large numbers. Nicolle Fernandes, who is here from Health Sciences, and she worked with Habiba Boumlik. You'll hear from both of them in a few minutes. Ed Goodman from business collaborated. He couldn't be here today, but he collaborated with his all-time partner from University of Guanajuato in Mexico. And Santo Trapani is here, right? Santo, you here with us today? Yay.
Hello, everybody.
Santo, welcome to COIL. This was your first experience. Please stick around. We want to hear from you today, okay?
Absolutely.
And Sada Jaman, also from business, she did a wonderful project with our colleague in Palestine. So Kyoko Toyama worked with Justin Barrera, again, her longtime partner in Japan. So again, thank you so much, all the faculty, and we look forward to hearing from you. So just a few highlights in terms of our accomplishments. And by the way, this is We on the Map as far as connecting with global institutions. We have over 30 of them now, and we have to add the Philippines. That was our addition, as well as Taiwan and yeah, those two are 2 very new countries for us. So as far as what was happening in the COIL land, aside from teaching, aside from those projects that I mentioned, we had 2 international guests visiting LaGuardia in person in September. And one of them is here now, Angelique, Alberge. Thank you so much for joining us in September. It was so wonderful to have you.
My pleasure.
And the second person was Dr. Hashem Abusnene from Palestine Aliyah University. And we learned a lot about these universities. Angelique is from Rodez Institute of Technology. So they took this opportunity to meet our faculty to talk about new possibilities for COIL, other projects, other collaborations, and had multiple meetings also at CUNY. So it's wonderful that virtual connections lead to these kinds of in-person visits and further partnerships of different kinds. So thank you for coming and opening that door for us. As I mentioned, we had 3 new global partners. Un minuto from Medellin, Colombia. Hello, Javier, welcome. We also want to hear from you today. We hope you had a good experience. I know you did. We also had a university in the Philippines, Lyceum Northwestern University. A faculty member from there worked with Maria Sava from ELA on an education and language project. And Santo worked with our colleague Melissa Fan from Xinjiang University in Taiwan. And you will be learning about that project today as well. A couple of weeks ago, we launched a transnational book that was created by students at UNAM in Mexico and LaGuardia. And this was a very unique cookbook in 2 languages, in Spanish and in English. And students shared not only recipes that they knew and loved, but also their personal stories, the stories of their communities. And the PhD students in Mexico that collaborated with us, they wrote a beautiful introduction to the book where they really kind of theorized the idea of national cuisine and kind of interrogated that whole notion. So it was wonderful to hear them, to hear the students, to hear the faculty, to have a few guest speakers at that event. And we did this in collaboration with La Casa. So the event was fully bilingual. And we hope we can make future connections through La Casa with Latin American countries so that our Latinx students can actually stay connected with their heritage, and it can also be obviously enriching for all of us to have these connections. The book, we're now working on turning it into an OER resource, and it should be available very soon. So you'll be hearing from us about that. A couple of our faculty members presented at very prestigious conferences. Lami Spadel went to Valencia in Spain to present at the International Virtual Exchange Conference, IVEC. She talked about her project in the Arabic course that she did with a faculty member who also teaches Arabic, but at the University of Oklahoma. And they wrote an article about it. So they looked at Arab communities in New York City and Oklahoma, and did this kind of diaspora-based project, which was very interesting. And then Javier Serna surprised us. He got invited to speak at this very prestigious conference, MPE in Mexico, which was fully supported by the organizers. So yeah, he was able to make new connections for us in Mexico. I'd like to also take a moment to thank the COIL college-wide committee that we've been running for over a year now. And, we're trying to work on multiple facets of the program to make sure that it's sustainable and that it's growing. So of course, always thank you, Pablo, for all of the support with instructional design and just the overall sustaining our program overall. Tuli Chatterjee, Lucy McNear from English, Nana Sebonzu and Milena Kuler from MEC, Tomo Manichi from Social Sciences, Marta Kovalchuk from Natural Sciences. We have a lot of reps from Humanities, Ariane Fernandes, Oliver Stankovic, Nancy Bandera, Arthur Polo Keefe. Again, ELA is here, of course, Maria Sava, Kiyoko Toyama, and from business, we have Ed Goodman and Javier Serna. I also want to take a moment and say a big thank you. I'm not sure they're here, but we've been very fortunate to be working with two PhD students from the Graduate Center, Mary and Mador, who worked over the summer, and Ariana Mejias Martinez, who made a lot of both of them made a lot of really important things happen. One of them was, finding partners in Mexico, and they're helping a lot with assessment and a lot of different things. And in the process, they're learning about COIL, and I think getting very enthusiastic. So happy about that. We are continuing also with this project. It's a virtual exchange CUNY-wide project, which is supported by the Stevens Initiative Grant, which LaGuardia is leading. Habiba is helping us with that. It's a huge team of people. And what's unique about this program is that it funds partnerships with universities in the Middle East, North Africa only. And so we also focus on UN Sustainable Development Goals, these two in particular. And we just had a wonderful student conference, which was attended by over 150 people. And so, so that program is also growing, and you'll be hearing more about it as we move forward. This is our LaGuardia team that is making that program happen. And of course, I'd like to thank our leadership, our colleagues across the college. There are so many of them, but here they are. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, actually, if I could also take just 1 second, Anita, I would like to, since we do have some students here, I would like to just mention that our colleagues from the Career and Professional Development Office are available to help students with their, with basically putting COIL on their resumes and really thinking about the kinds of competencies that they developed in the course of their COIL projects, and how those competencies can be presented in professional documents on LinkedIn. So if you are a student, please take a screenshot of the services available by CCPD, the Center for Career and Professional Development at LaGuardia. If you could screenshot that and get in touch with them, and they will be very happy to help you kind of conceptualize how to present COIL to your advantage on your professional documents. Thank you so much. Back to you, Anita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Olga, for that overview. It's so exciting always to see how our COIL program grows. We have new partners and also the unexpected ways that the shape that COIL projects take, right? Like the recipe book is exciting. The launch was just a really heartfelt, warm event. And I want to also say a special welcome to CTL Director Lubika Depovic. We really appreciate you taking time to be with us here this morning.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful initiative. Thanks. And I want to learn as much as I can about it.
Yes, well, you've definitely come to the right place.
Yes.
And you'll hear from faculty and staff speak about their projects on their own, not just Olga, Pablo, and I telling you about the projects. So I am the co-chair of the COIL College-wide Committee. So I'm going to get started now with the synchronous presentations. The first set of faculty and students, and I think just faculty presenters for this one, is Habiba Boumlik and Nicolle Fernandes from LaGuardia. And then we have Angelique Alberge from Rodez Institute of Technology in France. And then if you have any students with you, you can introduce them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita, can you please allow us to share our screen?
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, good, wonderful. Good. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Olga and Anita for this wonderful job you've been doing. This is not my first COIL. I love doing COILs, and I would love to be able to continue doing COILs. However, this is my first one in my language class. I've been doing them using my other courses that I teach in English, but this is the first one that I'm doing in my French class with my colleague and friend Angelique Alberge from Rodez, France. So we'll be talking a little bit about our collaboration. So I used my French class, but my culinary French class. And also I'd like to say that unfortunately, my colleague Nicolle Fernandes will not be able to present with us. I taught the course with her because it's a cluster. So I was teaching French while Nicolle was teaching her course in the social sciences. I'm sorry, health sciences. And however, we developed a syllabus that has many things in common. While I'm teaching the language French through food, through culinary arts, Nicolle was doing the science really behind it. So I worked with my colleague Angelique from Rodez, France, and her institute is interesting because it used to be like a 2-year college kind of system. Now I believe it's becoming a 3-year institution. And so it was really interesting because our students, I wouldn't say that have a similar profile, but they are institutions that are a little bit similar. So for once, it was not with a senior college institutions. And we used Slack to share our assignments, the assignments we developed for students, and also the work that students have developed. We used the cross-cultural communication through culinary arts and food as our theme. And I should say that it was quite successful. So we're going to tell you a little bit what we did, some of the activities we developed for students. First thing was introductory videos. In my case, I asked my students to start their videos in French and then continue them in English for the reasons I will explain later. And they also had to include a still image representing their daily lives. And they also had to comment on at least 2 videos of their French peers and then upload their cooking demos fully in French for my students. So my students are taking a culinary French. At the end of the semester, they have to show us, to Nicolle and myself, that they are able not only to cook a dish, but also to fully narrate the process in French. And the French students did something similar, and I should say even more. They created their introductory videos in English, since they are taking an English course. And they also shared videos about some renowned chefs such as Alain Ducasse, Michel Dumas. And they also created videos where they explained a few recipes. And they also shared with us an interview with the French chef, and they added the subtitles. And they also interviewed another French cook with international experience. And Angelique will tell us more about it later. So in addition, the French students created the videos explaining how to make some iconic French dishes, such as tartiflette and raclette. I'm sure you know what raclette is. Perhaps you might not know much, perhaps, about la truffade and aligot. And if we have time, Angelique can explain this to you. For my class, as you know, perhaps you know this, that culinary arts is heavily influenced by French. And if you go to any culinary school, you will definitely hear many, many terms. And over 50 of them are fully French. So our students have to learn them. And however, it is quite difficult to pronounce them. So the French students volunteered to record them. And we'll keep this document for the coming semesters. And they also created a really interesting document to present healthy habits workshops organized at their college. So it was a talk fully in French. Unfortunately, my students were not able to attend because it was fully in French, but it was also an in-person event. And our students can eat, at LaGuardia. The facilities are quite limited, which is quite different from the facilities offered to French students in France. And they shared a video about what is called restaurant universitaire, where students have their meals. Usually it's lunches and dinners. So what's the course about? So the French course is, if I may say, like any regular French course, students are true beginners, and they learn the basics of communicating in writing and in speaking in French. However, most activities are geared towards developing competency, written and oral competency related to food and culinary arts in general. Okay, so we talk a lot about food. We also talk about other things, but the students really graduated from this course with a lot of knowledge about food. And so while taking my course, they also take the, so this course is paired with the culinary arts, and students share the curriculum, and we create assignments that are that integrate similar competencies. So acquiring a specialized vocabulary related to food is important. So this is really the goal number one. Students are taught to write a short recipe in French, and they also give oral presentations about any aspect of French or Francophone cuisine. And but at the end of the semester, the most important assignment is really the demo, the cooking demo video fully in French, where they narrate the steps of their recipe in French. So this is basically what my part of the course. Now I'm going to let Angelique tell us about her side of the COIL. Angelique?
Yeah, so regarding my students, the point for them is really to communicate in English, because the COIL was part of the English course, and they've been doing English for several years. So basically, they are meant to be able to interact quite fluently, even though, of course, there are disparities between the students. And the COIL is really an authentic experience in terms of internationalization at home and cross-cultural communication, of course. So the objectives are quite varied. Regarding the COIL, so basically, it's really communicating in English. And regarding this COIL, more specifically, the objectives were to introduce themselves to international peers, to other students, fellow students, talk about themselves, their studies, their background, their working environment, their perspectives as well. And let me just mention that all of them are apprentices, which means that part of the time they are at school in the University Institute of Technology, and half the time they are in their companies working and getting paid to work at their companies. Then the point was also to share experience with foreign students regarding food, regarding eating habits, college experience and everything. Become familiar with the cultural differences in the preparation of meals, for example, in the eating habits as well. And also present something from their homeland. So traditional dishes. So Habiba, you mentioned that apparently in the USA, raclette is something that you know. Okay, right. And regarding two other, so 4 recipes have been presented by my students, and they were asked to make a demo as well. So showing themselves cooking and explaining the process at the same time. And some of the videos were quite funny. So two of the recipes that they presented are typical French dishes, and two others are more regional recipes, truffade and aligot. These are traditional dishes from the area where we live, where the Institute of Technology of Rodez is located. Right, maybe Habiba, we can move on to the next slide, please.
Sure. Okay. So this is the first activity, which is the icebreaker, and we've actually been using this thanks to you, Olga. I mean, you have suggested this for other COIL collaborations, and I've been using it and just modified it slightly. So it has been really successful. So in this video, we asked students to talk for like 2 to 3 minutes. Some videos are as long as 6 to 7 minutes. So students introduce themselves and their neighborhood or campus. And this is really important for us because our students at LaGuardia are commuter students. There is no real campus, there is no dorm. So this is why a neighborhood is really important for them. And it's always intriguing for international students to hear about students living in New York, what part of New York. And I think it's really important for them to show them that New York is not just like Times Square or Manhattan. There are many other aspects of New York. So also the focus on communities is very important. We live in the most diverse borough of the US, so communities are really crucial, and I try to stress this important in the videos. We ask them to choose a personal still image and explain how it represents their daily life, and it's really interesting to see the choices students make when it comes to that still image. So in addition to talking about their neighborhood and what's special about it, we also, for this COIL, we ask them to talk about the foods they like to eat, and also to tell us a little bit what they think about ethnic food. And we also ask them to comment on at least 2 videos made by their international peers. Is it Angelique?
Yes, so we try to include a few screenshots of the various videos that our students recorded. So this is a French student. And by the way, in the video, I don't know if you remember Habiba, at the end of the video, he said, "I'm sorry, my English is awful. It's probably painful to listen to me talking English." And I tried to reassure him, I don't think that's the case. And I told him that the point was really to communicate, to exchange, which is what he did. And by the way, this is the student. This student, his brother is a cook. He's been a cook for 17 years with international experience, and he suggested the idea that he could interview his brother, which was a wonderful idea. I really loved the idea. I learned many things myself. It was interesting. I mean, beyond the cross-cultural experience, I think it was really good, and probably a source of pride for him, which is good because he's really a nice student. Yeah, that's another student. She's quite fluent in English. She's quite comfortable with English. She likes speaking English, and she did a brilliant video with like a sort of a mise en scène, showing what she has for breakfast, for example, and well, many different things. So that was really pleasant to watch her video.
Also interesting, I mean, she's Chinese, so I think she was also an international student.
True, yeah. And 2 more French students. Interesting as well is to see the place where they live, with the photos in the background, for example, on the neighborhood. And by the way, I remember when they heard about talking. When we asked them to describe and to talk about their neighborhood, some of my students thought they had to talk about their neighbors. And they said, "I don't know much about my neighbors. I don't know them," basically. And it was interesting, this concept of neighborhood. And I really like the idea. Habiba, as you mentioned, many French students have have a very narrow idea or representation of New York City, what it's like, etc. So we had a big discussion about this, and we talked about the various boroughs and the area and everything. So here again, this was a real eye-opener to the French students. So that was really good. So here we have videos from the American students. Maybe Habiba, I don't know if you want to comment on them because you know your students more than I do. We do have, well, as you can see, some of the students introduced their pets, and which created discussions about cats and puppies and everything. They talked about the neighborhoods as well. I don't know if you want to comment further, Habiba.
Yes, I mean, it was also interesting to hear my students introducing themselves and sometimes being reluctant to talk about their neighborhood, especially the international students, because they didn't feel completely belonging to that neighborhood. But some have been living there since they were born. And it was also interesting for them to try to make their neighborhood look and sound interesting for their international peers because of the inside knowledge they have about it. And because they also, I try to make them aware of the fact that their neighborhood is very important for our French students because they needed to learn, if they didn't know it, that New York is beyond Manhattan, and our students typically do not live in Manhattan.
Yes, and something interesting as well is that, for example, that's what you can see here. Chris's video, he presented his boxing center and how sports kind of changed his life. Well, he didn't put it that way, but and I know you have a look. I included one screenshot of the comments on the videos, and they had this interesting conversation as well about sports and well, many different things, many aspects of their lives beyond just going to college. Yeah, a great way to break stereotypical views, actually, indeed. Yeah, so precisely, we've got examples of the comments posted by our students, our respective students. So some of them commented on the food, some of them commented on the neighborhoods, on the pets. Yeah, that was funny. The bridge as well, probably Brooklyn Bridge, I guess.
Yeah, but near LaGuardia, you also have the another bridge that is less glamorous than Brooklyn Bridge. I think.
Oh, so maybe that's the one. But previously, on a previous slide, there was a picture of a bridge, and I think it's Brooklyn Bridge, but I don't know. Anyway, and yeah, so as you can see, there were plenty of comments, many more than what we asked them, because I think in the assignment, Habiba, we asked them to comment at least on 2 videos, but they did much more, as you can see. And also, something that I really found amazing is that the students really owned the project in the sense that on the platform, they created, maybe they didn't create a new channel because they don't have the admin right to do so, but they did include jokes, and I didn't ask them to do that. So it was jokes in English. Some of them were about food, some of them were about totally different things, but that was nice to see that they really got into it and decided to add their own input to the project and to the communication, which proves that that it was a real success. I'm sorry, I'm really proud of that project. So, well, but I think it was they liked it really. So we talked about the recipes that the students presented. So here we've got the 4 recipes presented by the French students. And they also introduced local cheese. I'm not sure you've heard of them. Rocamadour, Cantal, Roquefort, obviously you know it. Saint-Nectaire, Tom Fresh. Local wine as well. They asked me if they were entitled to talk about alcohol. I said, okay, because that's about food and culinary arts. And something interesting is that the students who, the team of students who presented this wine and this cheese, they used a map and they presented the cheese, the different cheese and the wine against a map of France, showing the precise location of the drink or the cheese. So that was interesting. The chef's interview, we mentioned them. Okay, so and here we have an example of the videos, the recipes, the students' demos of their own cooking. And yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm going too fast here. I'm so sorry. Shoot. Yeah, I'm really sorry for this. I will try again. I'm so sorry, Angelique.
No problem. And regarding the French chefs' videos as well, it was not videos, of course, they did themselves. They just used material that they could find on YouTube. But I asked them to subtitle the videos or to create a Word document with the content of the interview, which they did. And as I mentioned previously, one of my students interviewed, so he did the interviewing himself, and he interviewed his brother, who's been a cook for many years. And
the interview translated then, Angelique? Did he translate it?
The interview is in French, but I'm not sure he included the subtitles on the video, but there is a separate document with the content of the interview. And it's a 12 minutes video interview. And he did the subtitle himself. He didn't use any tool like DeepL or any translator. So he's really, it's hard work, really.
And look how many different ways you created for them to learn the target language, right? In the most engaging possible way.
Yes. And Habiba, can you go on sharing the PowerPoint, or would you like me to do it?
Oh, I mean, you don't see it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't actually.
No,
Maybe,
I don't see it either.
No.
Oh. How about now?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, now we do. Okay, so then we have examples. Maybe you can move on. Yeah. So example of the recipes, the demos of the LaGuardia students with many different things. It was quite varied, and they commented on it. Yeah, and well, I don't know, Habiba, maybe you can comment on the question they had, or.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So this follows like a process, like 3 steps, where first they had to think about a recipe and then write a recipe. That was the first draft. They submit the first draft, and then I go over the draft and I discuss the draft with them, and I provide them with the sample. And so they need to use the language, so the basic connectors in French, to narrate, you using different basic words such as first, then, afterwards, and finally, things like that. We spend a lot of time learning the numbers because they need to say the ingredients, and we use the metric system in French. So that's the first, and then the second draft is then revised. And then the third part is really cooking the dish and recording themselves cooking it. But this takes place after a whole session that happens in the lab with the lab tutor that works with them, rehearses with them, works with them on their pronunciation. So I grade only the language, the linguistic aspect of the assignment, pronunciation and the use of the language and so forth. And then Nicolle, my colleague, looks at the video and sees if it follows the guidelines from her own perspective based on what she teaches in class. So the video is graded twice from 2 different perspectives. So a basic recipe for Nicolle may be worth few points because it's not a complex recipe. It has a few ingredients. The process is not that complex. For me, if it follows the guidelines, it's a success. It doesn't have to be 7 minutes long. If it's 3-4 minutes, but it follows the guidelines, it's perfectly fine with me. So you have some samples here of videos that's quite short, and like the last one here, I think was over 6 minutes, and it is the longer it is does not necessarily mean that it's the best it is, because sometimes a video like this one here is long, but like we have a background in music in the background, and the narration was quite short. Like about this one here, the student did a very good job in narrating throughout the process of making the dish. So this is really important. It just shows us that students had learned enough vocabulary, enough syntax to be able to constantly narrate and tell us through the video what was going on. Okay, Angelique?
Yes, okay, so here, this is, I think, the best French video with the students who really created like a movie, including the credits at the end, and many funny aspects. And then I'm going to move on quickly over the 3 other videos, so raclette. Then I think we have aligot, so that's very local, and then truffade, another very local dish, okay? And pictures of the process, and here in the picture of the cheese and the wine with the map in the background. And okay, 4 more cheeses. That's the interviews with the subtitles of the French chefs, so Alain Ducasse, Michel Dumas, and then this is David's brother. So he's not famous, but he's a cook. And then, okay, so that's the restaurant universitaire, the facility where the French students can enjoy a meal for very low prices. As you can see, a 3-course meal, a full meal with choice between 2 main dishes, 2 starters, 2 desserts for $3.43. And during COVID, and also for students who have a scholarship, the price is as low as $1. So that's interesting to see as well. And then I think we are going to, yeah, the unexpected input. I mentioned that already, the jokes that the students exchanged on Slack. And then I think we can move on to the conclusion. Okay, examples of jokes.
That's good. Okay, so as part of the
sorry,
class,
Habiba, we need to wrap up. I'm so sorry. We have speakers. If you could just wrap up within a couple of minutes, that'd be great.
Yeah, so that's as part of the course. I gave a cooking demonstration, and so I cooked a fish dish. And so this is the culinary terms I was telling you about that were recorded by the French students. And so this is the audio document. And at the end of the semester, we take part of the community's showcase. And I'm very happy and proud to announce that the French culinary course won actually the 2 first places for the best video, the best assignment, which is in the middle. You see here my student Hugo, who made a video that was over 6 minutes long, and he did a good job in narrating his video. And the class also won the first place for the best presentation, because we're competing with other learning communities, other clusters, and they present their projects, and they were very good in presenting their assignments, as you can see here, and also talking about what they learned about it. Now, we didn't have any live meeting this time. Nevertheless, the exchange was successful for these reasons, and perhaps there are more reasons. Where the theme we chose, the food, I think is appealing to to all students because food, as you know, transcends cultural boundaries. And also food is generally a safe topic. Students cannot really, feel threatened. They're talking about food, especially when they are shy. And they were really proud to present about their local, ethnic, and national foods. We had students in my case presenting fajitas and empanadas and or Chinese food. And same thing happened to the French students. It was a fun activity, I think, for the French students to give cooking demonstrations in English. My students were quite stressful about it because it was also an assignment and they were graded on this. And as Angelique said, students exceeded targets by adding unexpected content to the collaborative platform. And also I should conclude by saying that this collaboration is very valorizing for students because we try to make them aware of the fact that what they contribute to this French culinary class will be helpful in the next semesters, because I asked them for permission to use some of their assignments for the next assignments, such as these terms that were recorded, some videos, and so forth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Habiba. Thank you, Angelique. That sounded like it was a lot of fun too, in addition to students learning so many dimensions of global learning. So next we have Ana Maria Hernandez from LaGuardia and Javier Perez Ramos from Uno Minuto in Medellin, Colombia. And Ana Maria and Javier, I'll ask you to introduce your students when they speak. Can you please unmute, Ana Maria?
First, I will have a general introduction. This is La Pièce de Résistance. It's an act, a hard act to follow. We had prepared something more concise, 8 to 10 minutes, but equally informative. And in a way, our projects were similar. In a way, they were different. They were similar because Javier is also an English teacher. The students in Colombia are learning English. And our class, however, had more restrictions because it was topics in Latin American history, beginning with pre-Columbian civilizations and going up to 1910, 1920, the French Revolution. So the first meetings, we had to decide on a topic that would be equally pertinent to Javier's students and to mine. So we decided on Simón Bolívar, which is a topic that comes later on. As you know, we begin with the pre-Columbian civilizations and then independence. Because Colombia, of course, is one of the countries that Simón Bolívar liberated. And Simón Bolívar is a global figure. And they would be talking about it from their own experience, how they experience Simón Bolívar, while we, the students, that on our side, one was from Mexico, one from the Dominican Republic, the two who are here, and their perspective of Simón Bolívar, how they see Simón Bolívar in New York. And by the way, there is a statue of Simón Bolívar in Central Park. So then the second problem we had was the difference in hours, because we were we were both teaching on Wednesday evenings, but we were 1 hour. So our students all worked, and it was difficult to find the time when we could all meet. So we arranged 4 meetings, 1 get together, and then the ones in which we began to share the research from both groups did not happen until November, when we changed the time. And then we were all on the same schedule. So Javier and I had to sort of finagle a lot of details so that we could all meet. Again, first I will introduce my students by name, then Javier will present his perspective on the project and the video, the video that his students made when they were introducing themselves. And then we will recapitulate with the students on what they learned from this experience. So the 2 students that I have here today, and Perla, do you have your camera on? Yes, Perla is waving. Perla Marina Cuevas de León studies creative writing and she researched the childhood and adolescence of Simón Bolívar and the influences and how it helped shape his character. And Yameli Lima Fernandez, Yameli, wave at us, please. Yameli, who has also been a star in presenting a portfolio on bilingual education. She's a pro in technology. She studies bilingual child education, and she concentrated on the influence of the philosopher and writer Andrés Bello on Bolívar. There were 3 students who focus on more global influences, one on the influence of Alexander von Humboldt, the scientist who made the first maps of Latin America, and another one, Xiomara Baculima, who was later replaced by Catherine Valentin, about the influence of the Haitian president Alexandre Pétion, who promised help to Bolívar as long as he promised to abolish slavery and to have a strong education program once Latin America became free from Spain. So this was the project. We had a get-together meeting, then a presentation of the research they have done. Ours was more traditional, a PowerPoint with quotations, and theirs were absolutely engaging with Kahoot, with multiple choices. We were all having a lot of fun. It is great because many of our students are into education and they could use some of those pedagogic techniques to use in their training as teachers. And then we finally had the final presentation, not by then, not technical difficulties, which we had on our side when we began. Everything was very smooth as we progress. And with that, I will let Javier tell his side of the story, and then Perla and Yameli will tell us what they learned from the experience, what they will take with them going forward. Javier?
So, hi everybody. Yes, as Ana Maria said, that was an amazing experience. My students enjoy a lot. For us at the beginning was a big challenge because my students have different levels. So we can find a student like with level basic English level, but at the beginning I choose like the 8 best students. So, but the rest of the student, my group was like a 35 student. 35 student was a big group. So, but they wanted to participate, all of them, but all of them participate in different way. So, at first group, they participate like orally, and the rest of the group, they start like an investigate or research information about Simón Bolívar. So it was a very funny project. So I would like to repeat again this project, and my students really enjoyed. It was very, very interesting for us. We learned a lot, including me, because yes, I know about Simón Bolívar, but I was like researching with my student with Simón Bolívar. So I would like, I don't know, Ana Maria, is that like at the appropriate moment to share the video,
Yes.
a short video.
The introduction video, if you could,
Yes.
I think that would be very enjoyable. So can he just go and share, or do we need to do something, Pablo?
No, he can go ahead and share the screen. If you want to share audio, just make sure when you have the pop-up share window, check the option share computer audio. So that way we can hear. If you have trouble, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if you are watching this moment yet. The video, yeah?
Yes.
Are you watching?
Yes.
We can see.
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Hello people, I am Vanessa. Today I want to show you my group. They are students English level 3. Welcome, come on.
Hi, I'm Erika. Welcome to Uniminuto. You are studying business administration.
Hi. Hello, Hello, my name is Juliana Tobon. I'm studying communication.
We are studying social work.
Hi. Hi, my name is Leslie Posada. We are studying international market.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Manuela Betancourt. We are studying psychology.
Hi. And our teacher, Javier.
Hello. So,
3, 2,
as you can see, my dear teacher, as you can see, we have different professions in our group. So we have the students from psychologists, business administrations, social communication. Yes, and that was very, very interesting, the experience. And additionally, I would like to add to this experience that my student learned a lot. So as Anna mentioned at the beginning, so for my student, this experience was new because here in Colombia or in this university, for example, we teach like in the present tense, like in the verb to be and something like that. It was very difficult, to connect the Simon Bolivar's life with this kind of things. So for me, particularly, it was very, very excellent experience. Diana?
You have to unmute, I'm sorry. Please unmute.
I always forget. I would like now to ask Perla and then Jameli to share their experiences of number one, doing the research on Bolivar, but now with the intention not of presenting to our class here at LaGuardia in a history class, but sharing what they have learned about Bolivar with Colombians where Bolivar is basically a nation founder and a liberator and a living legend. So Perla and then Jameli, please share your experiences with the group.
Hi, good morning. My name is Perla Cuevas. This COIL project was an amazing experience because we had the opportunity to also use our native tongue or native language. I'm Dominican, so I'm a native Spanish speaker. The research that I made was also helped me to be working with both language because the book that I used was created by Maria Arana and it was completely in English. But because we were explaining or part of the project in Spanish, I have to translate and try to figure it out a way to portray the message in the right way without losing the connection between both languages. And also the Medellin got the opportunity to practice with us their English. It was, the meetings were pretty informative. We learned a lot about their culture, their food, even some places that they recommend if we have the opportunity to go to Colombia. I found fascinating the life of Simon Bolivar because I knew a little bit about the Liberador when I lived back in Dominican Republic, but I have no idea how his mentality was shaped. And also I got the chance to explore more about the female characters that influenced his life. One of them was his mother and the other one was his nurse. They call it like milk nurse back in that time, but she was in fact a slave that was hired just to technically take care of him, give him milk. And also some writers believe that she was the one who actually teach him how to ride a horse. Therefore, I find really fascinating that those kind of things are not being portrayed in many books until a few years ago. The whole experience as an overall, it was fascinating, not only because of the language, but both professors were helping us to try to get to one common ground and figured it out how much influence Simon Bolivar had not only in Latin America, but for us living here as immigrants in the United States.
Gracias, Perla. Thank you. And Jameli, would you like to add your perspective, your side of the experience?
Yes, yes. Hello, good morning. My name is Yameli Lima. And as Perla said, I have heard about Simon Bolivar before, but back in my country, Dominican Republic also. But this experience helped me like to get more deep into his life, to learn about him, about how much influence can people have over his life, like Perla said, and the feminine characters. But in my side was about his professors. My topic was about Andres Bello, but the one that had like more influence over him in a really positive way was Simon Rodriguez, who was with him like most of his life, guiding him in all his projects and everything. Even though Andres Bello did that in a kind of sense, but then he ended up like kind of separating paths between Simon Bolivar and himself. They chose different paths, and he also criticized him a little bit. But overall, I can say that this project, the COIL project, was really interesting, really fascinating, like Bella said, because we got like to get the Colombian part experience of Simon Bolivar. And like Professor Ana Maria said, Simon Bolivar was a liberator for their country. So it is really amazing what we got to discover from both perspectives and kind of combine them so that they could learn like a little bit about ourselves and we can learn a little bit about them. Thank you.
I would like to add also, I would like to thank Oriana, our intern, because I met with her a couple of times. And we also decided as a summary to read an essay by an Ecuadorian a writer and philosopher from the mid to late 19th century, Juan Montalvo, who compared Washington and Bolivar, what kinds of achievements they both did, but what kinds of different circumstances and problems. So that was interesting to compare both processes of independence and in terms of geography, in terms of the kind of colonial empire Britain had as compared to Spain. So we really got into it. We really got into it after a while. And I thought I also learned a lot from my students, as I always do. This is why I don't retire after so many years. I always learn a lot from my students and from my colleague, Muchas gracias, Javier. Well, I really, and your students absolutely enthusiastic the way they were so happy to connect with us, and my students were so happy to connect with them. I guess this is what the COIL is all about learning and enjoying the learning and deepening things. It's not just learning new things, but deepening things we already knew by integrating other perspectives. So, Javier, do you have last words? ¿Tienes últimas palabras?
Okay, so my students are not connecting today in this moment because, you know, they are on vacation like 3 weeks ago. But I would like to share with you the last video, and they did like an short presentation, and then we can see like an question or something about the projects. Okay.
Hello, Christina. Hello, Christina. Could you mention some curious facts about the life of Simon Bolivar?
Yes, curious fact about Simon Bolivar. His birthday was July 24. He was his little sign. The important stories of Simon Bolivar in La Habana, Caracas, Bogotá, New York, Paris, London, Mexico City, Panama.
Excellent!
Yes, as Ana Maria mentioned, my students really enjoyed this experience. They were so happy. So I would like to continue with this project for the next year. Why not? Thank you so much for this moment with you guys, this beautiful and nice experience.
Thank you.
And muchas gracias, Pablo, Olga, Anita. Mucho amor.
Wonderful.
Gracias.
And I'm excited to see what the next phase of the collaboration will be. So thank you, Ana Maria, Javier, Jamali, Perla. I really appreciate so much of the student reflections in your presentations. And I'm going to turn it over to Olga now, who's going to lead us through the next set of presentations.
Yeah, thank you so much. So in addition to this wonderful synchronous presentations, and I'm glad we were able to give more time this time because, you know, we didn't have a lot of synchronous presentations that people wanted to do. But we also have a lot of presentations and videos that were submitted to us asynchronously. And then I see, of course, Santo and Sarah here, who, even though they submitted asynchronous presentations, since they're here, I will, instead of me talking through their experiences, I will ask them to do that, right? So Santo, I'm gonna start with you. If you could just, introduce the project and share the video. You have about 5 minutes.
Okay. Olga, I sent you the video. I don't
I
know
can
if you
show it if
share
you'd like, sure.
Yeah,
But,
it's a short video, but before you begin the video, I would just say that I was introduced to this as the semester was beginning. And the first thing I had to think about was, how do I actually bring this into the class when the class already began? But I was so intrigued by, I thought this idea of COIL was very innovative. And I really am looking for ways to bring excitement back into the classroom. Given the last couple of years, lots of students are online. They're kind of a little hesitant sometimes to come back to the classroom. This really generated a lot of excitement. I thought it would, and it absolutely did. It was great meeting Dr. Melissa Fan, given the fact that there was a 12 and 13-hour time difference since we changed the clock in November. That was a challenge. So we had to schedule our meetings convenient for both of us when we met up to design the project. And the students then had to collaborate all different hours of the night. But you know our students, and sometimes they're up in the middle of the night completing assignments. So I didn't think that that would be too much of a problem for them, and it wasn't. And then the next thing was the classes, the two different classes. So my class was a first-year seminar for business students. It was their first experience in college, and boy, did I give it to them. It's like, here you are, welcome to college, and you'll be collaborating with students across the globe in a semester-long project, right? And they were like, okay, but it worked out. It really did. It was a lot of fun. And the students in Taiwan, we learned a lot about them and how their class was English level 3, but the college itself is an international business school. So the project was bringing or introducing different companies that market coffee and tea. And in the United States, it was Starbucks and another coffee company that slips right now. And then in Taiwan, it was bubble tea companies. And we brought those two companies together and had groups from both countries research how these companies operate in their respective countries. And then they were to design a presentation and present it. And we used Slack as our platform. And then at the end, they all presented. So if you'd like to share a couple of minutes of the video, you can actually meet Dr. Melissa Fan as well.
thank you so much, Santo, for that context, and congrats on your first COIL. And
oh, thanks.
I'm so happy for your students. I mean,
Appreciate
who can wish for anything better in first-year seminar?
Hello, everyone. My name is Santo Trapani, and I'm a faculty member here at LaGuardia Community College in Queens, New York. Earlier this semester, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Melissa Fan of Sichin University, and embark on an exciting journey for our students. Thanks to Dr. Olga Aksakalova and Professor Habiba in my department, I was introduced to COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning Project. Alyssa and I were both excited about this project, and we decided to come together at the beginning of the semester and quickly put together an assignment project that we worked with students over a 5-6 week period in our semester. We used Slack, as you can see here, as our platform for bringing the students together, and also to use for information about the project, questions, and groups where the students collaborated together, where we captured all the conversations going back and forth. And students also collaborated outside of Slack using tools like WhatsApp, for example. So first I'd like to share with you what Dr. Melissa and I did as the introduction to the assignment, and then we'd like to share some of the student work.
Santo, what makes sense to show? Would you like me to move it forward anywhere?
You can, if you want to just share the student work, you can move it forward to where the students are presenting. So in the beginning here, what we did was we created sort of like a document, and we got together, we created a video for the students, so the students would know what their responsibilities were, what the project was about, and whatnot. And that's the document that you see. And then toward the end of the video is where we have the student, an example of one of the student presentations, and then the feedback, if you'd want to share a little bit of that.
Okay, great.
I think the best benefits of cooperation is that we can share each other's thoughts and discuss more complete conclusions.
Hello, I'm Minnie. The best thing about collaboration is to know different countries' culture and practice our communication skills.
With our group members, we all use Slack to discuss. We think it is more convenient for us than using Google Meet. Because of the time difference, it is difficult for us to be online at the same time.
I think the best part of collaboration is that we understand the difficulties of cross-border cooperation and learn a lot about the details that we need to be pay attention to. Speaking English and discuss this topic in English is a fantastic experience because it can train us and improve our ability at the same time.
And we discuss it on WhatsApp and then upload the final information to Slack. I think that if I do it myself, I will not do it very well. Only by working together, we will do it better.
The short compilation of the results of student feedback on the project. Most of the students seem to really enjoy it. Most were engaged. And I think that this is an innovative program to really, again, for me, bring excitement back into the classroom, especially for what we've been through the last couple of years, getting students excited about learning again, and also really acknowledging internationalization, and realizing that from a business perspective, that business is always happening 24/7 all around the world. And it was a great opportunity, and I'd like to thank Dr. Aksakalova.
Oh, okay. Enough thanking me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
Thank you
thank
so
you all
much
the
for
time.
taking the
But-
effort to put this together, Sandra.
Yeah, that was great. It was a great experience, great opportunity for the students, and we both on both sides, we learned a lot, and we're still coming together to really capture, everything that occurred during the semester to produce, more work and see what we can do better even next semester.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and welcome to COIL. I do hope
Thank you.
continue.
Appreciate it.
So Sarah was here earlier from the university in Egypt, but I think she left. So what I could do is I just want to acknowledge. So we had Santos project, then we had a project as part of the Global Scholars Achieving Career Success Program. And that was a project that I just want to show you very quickly, the one that I mentioned earlier with UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this was a project by Rochelle Isaac. Is anyone from Rochelle's class here? No, okay. So I just want to kind of quickly show and by the way, all of these presentations, well, actually not all of them because we haven't secured all the media releases, but most of these presentations will be available on our website that Pablo so kindly created for us. If you want to throw that in the chat. And I'm so sorry, I just lost my, okay, I'll show you what I have on the screen and then I'll get to Rochelle. So this project here was done by Lamis Fado from LaGuardia and Iman Masharapa from MSA University in Egypt. And they focused on the media portrayals of different events in the United States and Egypt. And here you have some objectives, and yeah, the course in Egypt was the history of Arab media, and the course here was Arabic language, right? And you can see again, the two faculty members used asynchronous technology, in this case Padlet, as well as Zoom, right? So we've already heard that when there is a huge time difference, we resort to asynchronous tools. When it's at all possible, we want to put a cherry on top and use Zoom or Google Meets. So in this particular case, they were able to do that. You know, there is always an icebreaker involved, and then there's some sort of a comparative analysis, comparative discussion. So in this particular case, students compared reporting from BBC and CNN, as well as Al Jazeera, right? And they've looked at history, content features, logos, and so forth. And this is what Padlet looks like when students talk to each other. And it's kind of like a virtual bulletin board. So yeah, so this is what they basically did in that project. I just wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of a variety of things that took place. And let me go back to Rochelle's. She did a project on on income inequality between United States and Egypt. And so that project is actually, students did a lot of interviews, and they kind of organized the responses and looked at different areas of inequality, of income inequality and the sources of income inequality in Egypt and New York, or rather United States. And we have other projects, but I do want to be respectful of the time and also offer a few, just a few minutes for our guests and for our colleagues here to see if they have questions, or if they want to share their comments, their suggestions for the faculty, for the students in COIL. Lubitsa, I'm going to call on you, see if you have any thoughts for us.
Sorry, unmute myself. It's wonderful. I'm busy taking notes and trying to understand. I think this last project you just described, I think it is just so fantastic. The examination of the same event, but a different media coverage in at two such different places. I mean, that has potential for, developing critical thinking and the international understanding really, really well. So yeah, that one really caught my, and not to say that the others were not as important. I took extensive notes on the the French culinary. And I think it's interesting when two different classes are connected, they don't have to be studying the same thing. Like with the culinary, the students who are taking a culinary class, and here they're taking a language class. So you can always find an area of mutual benefits, even if it's not the exact same class they're taking. So it's really amazing. It's I don't know, I would like to hear at some point from the instructors how much additional work it is. I imagine that of course there is additional work, but like how much there is, and I'm sure it's worth it. You know, like what your thoughts are going forward. Can this be like a regular part of your classes? I mean, it was wonderful. And then I'm so glad I recognized one of the students because I met her at the peer advisors the other day, Jameli, presenting now. I mean, I'm blown away. It's really a wonderful project, and the benefits are, I mean, I mentioned the news coverage because it's my personal interest. I feel like this is so important for students to see the different perspectives, but all of the other projects, you know, getting to know Simon Bolivar, you know, getting into the things that you maybe are not going to learn as much here, or you will at least not. It's not the person is not going to have the same stature here in the United States as it does abroad in the for those students. So you know that brings an important perspective as well for students to see, like, well, this is just a name to us, but over there it's like George Washington here, you know. Yeah. So it's wonderful. I hope it continues and expands. I already have ideas for.
Thank you, Lubitsa. This was great.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to keep.
And now we have. I think our faculty want to respond to you, Habiba, and then Ana Maria.
Sure. So I would like to address Lubika's question, the extra work that may represent for students. So my experience taught me that when I know about it in advance, I include it in my syllabus. And depending on the number for the assignments, it could be worth like 15 to 20% of the total grade. So this way, students know about it. Like if it means reading 2 articles, watching 2 films, submitting film reviews, wherever, it's a lot of work. So it justifies 20%, and students take it seriously. In addition to all the videos and all the things. In this case, I didn't know really that I was going to do a COIL. So I included afterwards, and it only represents 10% and replaces 1 exam. And students were thrilled about it when I told them that this will replace an exam, and they had to do the video anyway. So it was not extra work. They had to write a recipe anyway. So the only extra work was creating the introductory video in both French and English, and commenting on their students, and you know, again, so this is and they knew that they could perform better doing COIL than in any exam. So they were thrilled. And on writing a reflection is something they can do, and they were given extra time to do it. So it was no stress, and they were a little bit stressed about it, but once they met virtually with their international peers, I think it worked really nice. And my experience taught me that it's always the case. They love meeting each other, and they love continuing the work. And some of them even keep the contact even once the class is over. So it's great.
This is wonderful to hear that students kept in contact.
Ana Maria?
Yes, first I'd like to thank Habiba, who has been egging me on to join COIL, and I was procrastinating because I did 2 programs and then the PPR, the assessment, the this, the that. But I finally did join. You were not entirely truthful, Habiba. C'était pas vrai. It's a lot of work, but it's fun work. It's like research to me, and it's the kind of work I hadn't done for a while, working closely with students, meeting with them. But what was most rewarding to me was I saw the 5 students who participated, especially three of them, the 2 that are here today and another one, were really in love with what they were doing. The love of learning, not just learning to get a grade, not just learning to get a degree. And then the degree, Perla and Jameli, the degree of critical thinking and comparative thought you put into it. And realizing what Lubitsa said, that there are different perspectives from different nations that you can compare, that Bolivar is to Latin America, what George Washington is to North America, not just the United States. And that is important if we are going to really have a meaningful global learning rubric, what we share, and doing a deep analysis and a comparative analysis really brings different perspectives and makes us understand others better, other cultures, but also what we have in common, that we have actually more in common than we have in difference. So it was, yes, it was a lot of work, but joy work. I mean, I do this kind of work sometimes on my own, writing an article. Sometimes I was doing it with my students. It was really rewarding to me. I want to do it again. So the second time I will know more. You see, I was the newbie this time. And I can see by the quality of Habiba's presentation how it builds up. Then, I was afraid how we're going to do the time, the technology, the this, the that. I already, Pablo is going to put me together with a technology mentor so I can sort of clean up some of my foibles in technology. So this is all. Let me not go on in my typical Latino way. So thank you to all. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Habiba.
So much. Anita, you wanted to mention something?
I just wanted to say from Ana Maria's comment, one of the things that makes it really, with, little support, faculty are doing this amazing work. And one of the things that really is helpful is that they have the community that has been built around COIL, and the way that they're able to go to their colleagues who have done COIL, in addition to myself, Olga, and Pablo, for support as they're conceptualizing and implementing their projects too. So it's really been wonderful to see how our community continues to grow and folks continue to support each other, whether they're doing COIL currently this semester or not, right? And I want to just recognize that and thank all of you for just being part of this community.
Yay, absolutely, absolutely. And I also want to, add to that we're building kind of there are a lot of students, right, who do COIL, and the COIL committee is going to work on creating an alumni network for students. We want them to stay in touch with each other. So Ana Maria, exactly, we not only want, so COIL is a great opportunity for students and faculty to kind of break down the hierarchy and work together on research projects. We've had faculty and students publish together. Students are invited to this event, sometimes to the conferences. So it's a great way to kind of bridge the student world and the faculty world. And we also would like to kind of have a community of students and to continue offering them opportunities after they finish COIL, right? Not just letting them know, hey, you can take this COIL courses next semester, but also these are career opportunities for you. These are, helpful webinars. That's definitely coming up on the horizon. And I also just quickly want to acknowledge Ian and Luis here from the library. We have been kind of working very closely with different units on campus, and I'm very excited about some of the work we are starting to do with the library. So we're looking at creating an OER from some of because we do have a lot of COIL resources, both for faculty and also some of the student products, right? The Recetario cookbook, and then we have other products that students have created. So it would be, I'm really looking forward to working with our library colleagues on that. And also, to just continue doing what we're doing and trying to trying to grow our community, as Anita said. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Exciting, exciting. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for being with us. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.